Welcome to this video on dividend poaching. What is it and how to avoid it? First, how do dividends work? A company can pay out part of its profit as a dividend to the shareholders. The amount of the dividend is given as an amount per share owned. And who are the owners then? The owners are the people on the shareholder list at a certain date. So, key dates for dividends. First, you have the declaration date. This is the date when the amount of the dividend and all the other dates are decided. So let's look at these on a timeline. This is our time, so our declaration date comes first. Then we have the ex-dividend date, and this is the important one with options and in dividends in general. This is the date on which it is too late to acquire shares to receive the dividend. That means you must purchase the shares before this date. In fact, as long as you owned the shares the day before, you can sell the shares on this date and still receive the dividend. And that will be after the declaration date sometime. The record date, this is the date at which the list of eligible shareholders is determined. Today, this date is usually the same as the ex-dividend date. They used to be different when transactions took longer to settle. So, the record date, pretty much the same, maybe a day after the ex-dividend date. And then finally, there's the payment date. This is the date on which the dividend is actually paid out. And that will be some further time in the future. All of these dates are available through your broker or the company's website. So what is poaching? Poaching occurs when the owner of a call option chooses to exercise the option just before the ex-dividend date to become the holder of record and receive the dividend. If you are short the option and are assigned, then you will sell 100 shares. If you don't have them, you'll be in a short stock position. In practice, a short stock position happens by you borrowing shares from someone else and then selling them. So we have three people: the poacher, you, and the lender of the shares. To sell the shares, to fulfill your obligation when you're assigned, you'll have to borrow them, and then you can sell them. So the lender has shares, then you borrow them, so you temporarily have shares, and then you sell them, and then the poacher has shares. The person you sold to, the poacher in this case, is the holder of record from the company's point of view, so they will receive the dividend from the company. The loaning and borrowing is considered separate. The company is not going to pay both the person you sold to and the person you borrowed from, so you have to make up for that. The person you borrowed from will want their dividend, and you'll have to pay it to them. This is a cash debit from your account. The lender will not receive a dividend, but cash in lieu, which means instead of, for the same amount. You may have seen this on your brokerage statement before. It means that your broker lent your shares to someone. So why would someone poach? It takes special conditions to make poaching financially viable. Exercising the option must make more money than selling the option. So first, the option should be in the money, meaning that they're going to gain some money from that. They're not going to lose money just by purchasing at a higher price than they could. And second, the time value left in the option must be less than the dividend. So it would not make sense to exercise an option and pay more than the market price for the shares. And since the owner of the option can sell the option, the dividend has to be higher than the time value they would receive for selling the option. If it isn't, then selling the option would make them more money, and that's what they would choose to do. So they have two choices, really. They can sell the option, receive the premium, which will be composed of intrinsic value, since it's in the money, and time value, or they can exercise the option. They'll pay the strike price, they'll receive the dividend, and then they can sell at market price, say. Let's assume that the market price minus the strike price is the same as the intrinsic value. So basically we are comparing the dividend and the time value. What can you do? If you are short a call that is at risk for poaching and you want to avoid it, you can roll the position to one where the time value is higher. This would typically mean rolling to a higher strike, which is closer to the market price and therefore has a higher time value. And this makes your option unattractive to potential poachers. Here's an example of several strikes for a given expiration and the time value that they are worth. The current market price is at $100. The dashed line represents the upcoming dividend at 60 cents per share. This shows that if you are holding a strike of about 92 or less, then you are at risk for dividend poaching, as the time value left is less than 60 cents. The action to take would be to roll out in time and/or strike price. Often, you can even do this for a credit, meaning that you get paid to do it. You essentially buy back the call option that you sold and sell a new one with a different expiration and strike. Thanks for listening.